In the old town of Iseyin, where the roofs were rust-red and the earth smelled of wet clay after thunderstorms, lived a boy named Arrow. He was small for his age, thin as a broomstick, but his laughter carried like the ringing of bells after church service. His parents, a Johnny, a charcoal burner, and Teo, a trader who sold cocoyam and peppers, loved him fiercely. Their home was poor, only 2 rooms and a cooking shed, but love made it wide and warm. One Harmattan morning, a Johnny and Teo traveled to the forest to gather charcoal. Arrow, only 7, waited for their return with restless feet and bright hopes. But evening came with no footsteps, only villagers whispering, their eyes tilted low like dying lanterns. Fallen Irako, a storm-loosened branch. No survivors. Arrow's world dimmed. He was taken in by his mother's older sister, Aunt Yemisi, and her husband, Baba Sad. Their compound was large, full of children and goats, but for Arrow, it felt like a cage. Aunt Yemisi saw him not as blood, but as burden. She would thrust a hoe into his hand before sunrise, sending him to weed the farm while her children slept. If food was 3 pieces of yam, Arrow received 1. If swearing was thunder, her voice was the sky. You eat too much, she'd snap, though he ate the least. You used too long to fetch water, even when he ran the whole way. But Arrow, fragile, tender as new leaf, never answered back. In the cold nights when hunger clawed his belly, he remembered his mother's voice. Kindness is a seed. Sow it even in dry soil, for rain may surprise you. So he smiled when scolded, helped even those who mocked him. At the stream, girls fetching water giggled at his worn clothes. Hunters laughed at the way he limped when the hoe bruised his foot. Still, Arrow greeted everyone. He shared whatever crumb or roasted maize he could spare. Years passed like slow Harmattan wind. Arrow became 18, thin, quiet, still carrying more kindness than strength. Hardship molded him but never hardened him. One afternoon, heat swelled over Iseyin like the inside of a cooking pot. Arrow was sent to buy gari and pepper from the market, though he had eaten nothing since dawn. As he walked, dust burning between his toes, he saw something strange by the roadside. An old man, bent like a broken calabash, struggling to drag a sack of firewood twice his size. People avoided him. "Leave that spirit man alone," someone muttered. "He is not ordinary," another warned. "His eyes shine like moon when there is no moon." Arrow paused. Fear trembled in his bones, but compassion moved faster. He dropped his basket, approached slowly, and spoke with a gentle voice. "Baba, let me help you." The old man turned. His eyes were clouded like morning mist, yet deep as river water. "You would carry my burden?" he asked softly. Arrow nodded once, and with that small nod, the path of his life shifted forever. The sack was heavier than Arrow expected. His shoulders burned, breath came sharp like stones against his ribs, but he did not complain. Step after step, he followed the old man into a narrow footpath leading toward the thick forest beyond the farms, a place most villagers avoided after dusk. The trees there bent strangely, like they listened. "Just a little further," the old man whispered whenever Arrow staggered. Arrow only nodded, shifting the weight, sweat streaming down his back. At last they reached a clearing. There stood a small hut woven from palm fronds, too neat, too silent, too hidden for ordinary eyes. Arrow could not remember ever seeing it before. Inside, the air smelled of smoke and dried leaves. A single stool stood at the center, and on it rested a clay bowl filled with water that looked like liquid moonlight. The old man gestured for Arrow to set down the sack. "You are kind," he said, voice light as wind. "Kind even when no one watches." Arrow looked down, embarrassed. "You needed help." "Many see need," the old man replied, "but few respond." He reached for the bowl. "Sit." Arrow hesitated. Something about the man felt ancient, more than flesh. Yet trust outweighed fear. He sat cross-legged on the earthen floor. The man dipped his finger into the shimmering water and touched Arrow's forehead. The hut brightened. No flame, no lamp, only light, soft and silver. Arrow's breath caught. His hunger faded. Ache dissolved. A strange peace washed over him. I have watched you since the day your tears soaked the red earth at your parents' burial, the old man said. You carried sorrow without bitterness. You were starved but gave bread. You owned nothing yet offered your strength. Arrow swallowed, unsure how to respond. Because of this, the old man continued, I give you something rare. He lifted a small calabash with carvings like dancing rivers. You will find this same calabash in your hut tomorrow, he said. Within it, endless corn and yam will appear, enough to feed you and those in need. Only you may see it. Share freely, but never speak of its source. Arrow blinked. Endless food? It sounded like dream. Yet the air felt holy, final, like a promise sealed into wind. When he raised his eyes again, the old man was gone. Hut empty, silent. The sack of firewood vanished as if the earth swallowed it. Outside, the clearing shimmered, then dissolved into ordinary bush. Arrow stood alone, heart racing. But he did not doubt. Something had shifted, deep and unseen, like seed waking beneath soil. He walked home slowly, unsure whether to laugh or cry. That night, hunger curled in his stomach. He prayed softly, let this not be trick of grief. Morning answered. When Arrow woke, there, beside his raffia mat, sat the carved calabash, glowing faintly, warm to touch. Inside lay fresh boiled yam, steaming as though the pot was still on fire. He wept, not from disbelief but gratitude too big for one heart. Days turned to weeks, and the calabash never emptied. If Arrow took one yam, another appeared before sunset. If he shared 10 cups of cornmeal with hungry neighbors, 10 more filled the bowl by night. Word spread through Iseyin, not of magic, for Arrow spoke none, but that the once thin boy now fed children freely, helped widows, shared food with travelers passing through the dusty road. People whispered, puzzled. He must have farm in heaven, the way grain follows him. His kindness is returning to him, elders said knowingly. Arrow's life changed, not suddenly, but like sunrise, soft, steady, unstoppable. He traded portions of corn for goats, goats for land, land for cocoa trees. In 3 years, he built a large compound with mud walls polished smooth like gourd, a granary tall as a man, and a courtyard filled with laughter, not hunger. He remained humble. Often he walked barefoot through the village, carrying baskets himself when workers offered to help. When strangers bowed, he lifted them gently, saying, We greet as equals here. One rainy afternoon, a thin figure arrived at his gate, Aunt Yemisi. Her headscarf was torn, her wrapper patched more times than thread could hide. Life had worn her down like stone beneath river. Arrow, her voice broke. I have nothing. Baba Saad fell sick. The farm failed. My children scattered. I came because, she inhaled shakily, because I wronged you. I treated you as goat, not son. Forgive me. Arrow looked at her long and quiet. Memories rose sharp. Hunger, beatings, sleepless nights under cold roof. But pain softened, like yam that had boiled long enough. He knelt and took her hand. I forgave you before life changed, he said. If I had carried hatred, blessings would never rest. Aunt Yemisi wept, not softly, but with years of regret. Arrow rose, retrieved a woven sack filled with grain and dried fish, then another of cassava flour, and pressed them into her arms. Go home, he said gently. Start again. Her tears wet his hands like rain returning to river. Later, Arrow walked to his parents' grave beneath the old irako tree. The wind swayed the branches as if greeting a child grown tall. He placed flowers there, whispering, I share what I was given because you taught me kindness. Thunder murmured in distant sky, low, approving. And somewhere in the unseen, the old spirit smiled. For kindness, when planted in sorrow, grows into harvest beyond counting.